and good night. Thanks again for downloading the Body Snatchers podcast. If you like what you hear today, don't forget to subscribe and comment. So let's get started. Enjoy the show.
All right, guys. Good morning, good night. Thank you for choosing the Body Snatchers podcast. Tino here. Today we have a special guest, Mikie from Nerds in the Dark. Mikie, what's up?
Hey, what's going on?
Today we're going to talk a little bit about this Pokemon DLC announcement that recently has flooded all of the internet. Everybody's not actually, you know what? I was going to say everybody's really excited, but that's not the case. Some people are really happy and some people not so much. So we'll definitely touch base a little bit on that, a little bit as to what Nintendo Pokemon has revealed so far. That's going to come out later. And before we get started, make sure you guys head over to bodysnatchersmedia.com. If you're new, check out our Patreon account where we have access to 100% of our content. We've got a lot of cool stuff in there, so definitely take a look. And we've got some contests coming out very soon with big prizes for Patreon members. So just make sure you check that out. Head over to Twitter, head over to, whatever you're into, Instagram, Facebook, we're all over the place. So please do that. That being said, Mikie, how do you feel about this overall? I mean, I guess maybe I'll start off stating there's two DLCs technically that are coming out. We're going to get one in June for the summertime, and we're going to get another one next fall, which doesn't have a month yet, but I'm assuming it's probably going to be November knowing Pokemon.
I got to be honest, I'm conflicted. It's something that, we talked about a lot on stream, but to say like officially, like, it feels weird knowing that we were kind of lied to, but we're also getting what we want.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't help but feel conflicted when you're like, hey, there's no plans to introduce more Pokemon. And then immediately in the announcement of the DLC, they say, hey, we've been planning this for quite a while. And it's like, well, what was it?
Well, do you think that was just an attempt to keep things like a little bit hush-hush? Because even though Nintendo isn't known for necessarily doing DLCs for Pokemon, I mean, the writing was on the wall, I think.
I mean, I don't think it was like really an attempt, because I think if they were attempting to keep it hush, just as like, it would be enough to say, we've got plans. We can't say anything right now, but we can assure you that you will like what's to come. That's keeping things in wraps versus like what they actually did was just straight up lie.
I mean, it was a send-off for sure, but in a world where you have people, data mining these games, we saw that there were tons of Pokemon that had, like well-known Pokemon like Blastoise, Squirtle, and, that whole line. And that data has been in this game since day one. Like, people knew. So they really couldn't get away with like saying we've got some secrets, question mark. Like, I think maybe they just had to play it off like the old games where there was data that, was never going to be utilized.
Well, I mean, I think that's a tough one to say, because like, sure, there's data in the game, but there's data for like another 30-ish Pokemon versus this is like, hey, we're bringing 200 over.
Well, I guess, my thing is I'm not super upset that we're not getting all the Pokemon out the gate. I probably would have been upset if there was not going to be a DLC releasing more Pokemon. Because the thing is, I don't mind paying, and if you step back and you think about Pokemon as a whole, what really would they have came out with? I mean, sure, they would have had new regions and new battles, but if they weren't coming out with brand new Pokemon and they gave you, the entire complete decks out the gate, they really don't have anything to sell you on outside of crap that you see like in Pokemon Go. And not to be like super negative about Pokemon Go, but I hate when they're like, all right, guys, time to catch our seasonal Pikachu with a hat. It's like, I guess,
No, absolutely.
I just don't think it would have been DLC worthy. So yeah, our favorite Pokemon are behind a paywall, but I would rather get those than have them, pull a hat out of their ass or a rabbit out of their ass rather, and come out with, like additional new Pokemon. The universe is already probably bigger than it needs to be. So I'm okay with that.
Well, see, that's actually the interesting thing, is that the Pokemon aren't really behind a paywall. They're going to be like, once the DLC comes out, there's going to be an update for the games that will allow people to transfer over all their old Pokemon for free, as long as they have Pokemon Home.
Well, then it's not free.
Well, sure. But Pokemon Home is like really cheap rather than having to buy the DLC. And that was what people were expecting anyways. We were paying for Pokemon Bank. We expect it to be able to like, hey, as long as we're paying this yearly subscription, we'll be able to transfer over our Pokemon. If it changes names from Bank to Home, I don't really care. But I'm paying to keep these Pokemon.
Okay.
I think when they make that change and they're like, hey, so we got like extra DLC coming and we got more for you. I mean, hell, we buy characters for Smash before we even know who they are. Like, what's different here? If you told me there was DLC coming, I'd be hyped.
Okay, I mean, and that's fair, but I don't know, man. Like, again, like this doesn't bother me. You know, having to pay for these Pokemon, like, this doesn't bother me in the slightest. If anything, I don't like the idea of having this central hub for Pokemon Home or Pokemon Bank, just because I'm concerned that it's going to take the fun and the grind out of the game. So, for instance, like transferring them for free from Pokemon Go to Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu kind of took away a lot of the fun for me. Like, I didn't really like that I had gotten all these awesome legendaries in Pokemon Go and I was able to easily put them into my game. Like, at first it's kind of cool, but when you sit back and you think about it and it's like you can have whatever you want, and I have everything in Go, I don't know. It loses the grind immediately. And as much as we all hate the grind is necessary. It's like having a Game Shark or something. You know, if you hack the game immediately, it's not going to hold your interest for very long.
I feel you on that, except like I'm not unhappy about this. I'm actually really happy that we're gonna get DLC instead of having to buy an entirely new game. I think that's really great. I'm gonna buy this stuff, but I kind of disagree in like some of the stuff of, you know, when it becomes fun or anything like that, because there's a lot in this game that overall I don't consider fun. That's part of the end game.
Well, yes, I agree with you, but at the same time, here I'm going to sound like so cliche. The fun isn't in catching the Pokemon, my friend. The fun is in getting on with your friends and grinding in Discord and just hanging out for hours. Because honestly, as brain dead as that can be, for some reason, I find myself hopelessly addicted to it. I don't know why, but it's just really fun to get on and catch the same damn Pokemon we've caught over and over. Like, oh, bro, what'd you get? What do you got? Like, I mean, you and I have done that for probably over 40 hours already.
Yeah, no, we've definitely put in a lot of time, and I 100% like, I think there's more to it than what the actual end game is, but that also detracts from what the end game kind of was for a lot of Pokemon players, which means that this isn't the Pokemon that's for everybody, which is, again,
I agree,
is why it might be so divisive. You know, it used to be that whatever your end game goal was in Pokemon, you could do that with or without people. And I think that here it's kind of like it's meant to be more with people, which is fine, but they've removed a lot of what makes solo play great.
I mean, I think that you could argue that, though, because not any raid, but almost any raid, even if it's like a purple 5-star, I can complete by myself. Maybe not initially, but when I first got to endgame, but now as I've, built up a decent team, I can do that. So, I mean, I think it's definitely possible. It's still preferred that you spend time with people because the grind isn't going to take as long. But again, just going back to my point, I'm still concerned with them taking out that aspect of, getting those rare Pokemon, like to be able to just bring them over from your cell phone. Will promote Pokemon Go? Sure. But I think it takes away something else, like a lot of people don't care about Pokemon Go. They want to get down here and they just want to play, and they're going to be forced, at least from a battle perspective, to, have more variety and play Pokemon Go, or just take an L from people who are able to transfer over whatever they want. And I think that's going to become problematic. I think it's going to be problematic for people who don't have the $5 a month. Because remember, even though you and I, that ain't shit to us, $5. But what about the kids that are playing that, okay, their parents broke down, got them Pokemon, maybe they mowed lawns all summer and made it work, but they may not have that $5 consistency or access to a credit card,
Sure. But so
always a but with you.
Yeah. Well, so if your argument is that a kid who doesn't have the $5